Before you start to make the fudge, line a small pan with foil and butter the foil. This will enable you to remove the finished fudge from the pan and saves you from needing to clean the pan. Now to make fudge, we start with sugar, milk, cocoa, corn syrup, butter, vanilla, and salt. The sugar provides the sweetness and will form the crystalline structure and texture of the finished candy. The cocoa provides the chocolate color and flavor to the fudge. We combine all of these ingredients except the vanilla in a saucepan. If you start by mixing the sugar and the cocoa first, the cocoa is less likely to form lumps when the liquid is added. When the cocoa and sugar are dispersed and the remaining ingredients added, the milk provides the liquid needed to dissolve the sugar and disperse the other ingredients. The butter allows the crystals in the final product to slide around each other, giving the fudge a slightly softer and smoother texture. The corn syrup provides some glucose and shorter chain starch molecules that act as interfering substances to inhibit sucrose crystallization. And the salt increases the taste intensity of the final product. All these ingredients are added to the saucepan, and the saucepan is placed over medium to high heat. You need to stir the fudge continuously at this point while it heats to boiling. Stirring helps to mix all the ingredients together and prevents some settling out and burning on the bottom of the pan. When the contents have reached boiling, all the sugar will be dissolved and the ingredients should be well dispersed. Now place a thermometer probe in the mixture. Reduce the heat to medium-low, just enough to maintain a boil. As the mixture boils, the water boils off, making the remaining syrup more concentrated. You do not need to stir the mixture now, as all the ingredients are dissolved or dispersed and won't settle out. The boiling continues until the temperature of the mixture is about 111 degrees centigrade. At this boiling temperature, the sugar concentration will have increased up to about 85%. And we need it to be that concentrated to produce fudge that is a solid at room temperature. If the ending temperature is lower, the fudge may not become solid and you'll have chocolate sauce. If the ending temperature is higher, the fudge may become too hard, will be very difficult to stir. It will take around 10 to 15 minutes for the temperature to increase to 111 degrees. When the fudge has reached 111, remove it immediately from the heat and stir in the vanilla very quickly. The vanilla is an alcohol extract of the vanilla bean, and if you add it earlier, it will boil off and not be present in the final fudge. Now pour about 1/4 cup of the fudge mixture into a custard cup, then place the pan with the remaining mixture back on the stove on an unheated element to cool. You want to have the fudge mixture with the thermometer probe in it cooling by the time the temperature drops to 100 degrees centigrade. Now, as the fudge cools undisturbed, it will become very supersaturated. And this is important because the more supersaturated the mixture becomes before you initiate crystallization, the more crystal nuclei will form. While the fudge in the pan is cooling, stir the small portion you placed in the custard cup. This stirring will initiate crystallization, and then continue to stir the sample in the custard cup occasionally as it cools. Because you have initiated crystallization in this sample, relatively few crystals will form, and those few crystals will grow large. So by the time this sample has cooled, the crystals in it should be large enough that you will feel a grainy, rough texture when you taste it. When the fudge in the pan is cooled to 44 degrees centigrade, remove the temperature probe and begin stirring. When you begin stirring, you initiate crystallization. No crystallization will have started before you start stirring. Now, the more you stir, the more crystal nuclei form, and you want to maximize the number of crystal nuclei you form in the fudge and minimize the amount that they grow. Stirring both initiates more crystal nuclei and prevents small crystals from clumping together, so you want to stir. The formation and growth of the crystals is also inhibited by the ingredients in the recipe that are not sucrose. When crystallization is nearing completion, the fudge will begin to lose its gloss. You begin to see this as streaks as you are stirring. At this point, scrape the fudge into your prepared pan and let it sit to solidify. The final fudge has a matte as opposed to a glossy surface because the sugar crystals refract light differently from the dissolved sugar in the syrup.